Mhm. Thank you for joining us. My name is Christine Torres. I am the Assistant Director for the Pioneer Center for Student Excellence. Today's presentation is Academic Resilience 101, Strategies for Overcoming Burnout and Reclaiming Your Academic Success. What we're going to be covering today, we're going to be covering these items, which are burnout, academic resilience, addressing burnout, sleep hygiene, reclaiming your academic success, and we're going to be wrapping up our session today with critical thinking and Bloom's taxonomy. All right, so this is our first question. So you can drop it, you can drop your response in the chat, or you can do emojis, you can take your mic off. Does anybody feel like they're running on empty right now? Ah, 100%, almost, or almost there. Yes. Sometimes but not really. Yes, indeed. Yep. And I also want to say that this is a safe space, so feel free to ask, questions. If you'd like directly to me, you can use the feature to go to their questions will come directly to me, so then they're not in the chat. So you're welcome to do that as well. So yes, we tend to run ourselves on empty sometimes because we think this is the only way to operate. But today you are here so that we can get past that burnout phase and start reclaiming your academic success. Or maybe you're just at the verge of getting there. Spring break is next week. So if you have not already planned anything for spring break, please in the comments, let me know, what have you done recently to prevent burnout, to prevent yourself from running on empty? Is there a hobby that you want? Is there something that you do for self-care? What would that look like to you? Take Sundays fully off from school. I love that one. I love that one. Go home to see family. That's going to be very important. We'll talk about that a little bit later. We hint on that. It's something that we need to incorporate in our schedules. Anybody else? Anybody just going to like treat themselves to maybe Starbucks or a nice walk? Family as well. Awesome. It's important that we know what these things are. And I want you to ask yourself, what did I used to do before the semester started? What did I enjoy doing before I felt this way? And I want you to take time to write those down in a journal, write them down in a sheet of paper, just something so that you remember to at least try to sprinkle these through your remaining weeks of school. So somebody said they stopped working on school late at night, a full stop at 8 p.m. That is very good. That's a really good commitment. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. It's resilience. It's keeping it up. Now that we've set this goal, how do we keep up with this? So let's talk about burnout. What is burnout? Burnout is a state of emotional, physical, mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. So sometimes you might tell somebody, I didn't sleep well. Well, are you stressed? You'll say, no, not really. Because we are so used to managing our stress levels, we've built unhealthy coping strategies to say that we're okay. We're okay if we sacrifice a meal. We're okay if we sacrifice sleep. But it's very important for you to recognize how burnout manifests itself in your own way to you. So do you get headaches? Do you feel fatigued? Do you feel challenged when it comes to paying attention? Do you have mood swings? All of these things are important things to recognize because it is a balancing act when you're in college. We have the feeling of doing our coursework, exams, balancing social activities. Maybe you're experiencing family issues or financial or health concerns. So these are things you want to keep in mind so that we don't go through burnout without utilizing the techniques we're going to be covering today. So recognizing these symptoms is essential for implementing effective coping strategies and seeking support to prevent future consequences. We don't want to keep operating on empty. Academic resilience. Academic resilience is the ability to adapt, persevere, and thrive despite facing challenges or setbacks in our academic journey. So what this looks like is burnout. We get through burnout, and then we don't feel good about ourselves, and we start overthinking what we did, what we could have done, what we should be doing. Then we become stressed with everything that's still on our plate because nobody's taking these things away from us. They're still our responsibilities. So now, how do we get past this? There's some essential skills that are important and that are included within academic resilience. These skills are the ability to be flexible, to persevere, to have coping skills, to maintain a positive mindset, and to be resourceful. So what does this look like? This looks like flexibility. Can you adjust your study habits if you realize that, for the comments, somebody said, I'm just going to stop studying at 8 o'clock because I know that I'm not soaking in information. Yes, I'm going to be flexible, which means I'm going to stop at 8 because I need to be able to give myself time to rest. Perseverance. What does this look like? It looks like you demonstrating that determination that you had from the first day of classes till now to the end of classes. It's sticking through it when we are faced with academic challenges. So it's not giving up. Coping skills, the ability to manage stress, anxiety, and academic pressures. And this will look different for everyone. This could be reaching out to a friend, going back to visit a family member, just understanding that you being alone or taking all this information in on your own is a lot for you, and reaching out for help. But this can also include practicing self-care activities. So ask yourself, what did I used to do? What did I love doing that I don't have time to do? And bring that back into your life, okay? Schedule time for you to be able to browse at the store, walk at the park, get up in the morning and practice meditation, yoga, whatever that looks like to you. Those are part of your coping skills, and that's part of academic resilience. Having a positive mindset. So we at times have heard maybe other people refer to some of our habits as being lazy, never making it on time, but not truly understanding that, we have to work, we have school. I had other responsibilities. I had car trouble. So what we want to do is we want to acknowledge that those things exist in our life, but have a positive mindset for reacting to them emotionally. So if your car does go out, well, that just means I might need to rely on a backup system for public transportation or for a ride to campus. Or is this work I can do ahead of time in case I have car trouble and I'm not going to be able to go to school? So it involves planning, being resourceful. Being resourceful means, again, is being able to reach out to your professors when you don't understand assignment, when an assignment is not clear, when something is not open, or an assignment is locked in Canvas. It's not sitting around waiting for somebody to take that responsibility to ask. It's reaching out to the professor. It's reaching out for help, reaching out for tutoring or counseling, whatever that looks like. And those are all services that we'll talk about some of those later, but that you have access to as a student. So what I want you to get from academic resilience is to believe in your ability to bounce back from setbacks and find solutions. With every hurdle that we come across, you conquer it. And when you conquer it, you strengthen your resilience and move closer to your academic goals. We are halfway through the semester, okay? Hopefully these skills that we talk about today will help you to bounce back or to maintain this level of balance in your life so that you can complete the rest of the semester without giving up on yourselves, without feeling tired. So I want you to stay committed. I want you to stay determined, and I want you to remember that you have everything within you to succeed, okay? Let's talk about some quick strategies on bouncing back. Maybe the first step is, let me just log into Canvas. I know I need to catch up, and it's a lot of work that I need to do. Let me log into Canvas. Let me figure out what it is I need to do, and let me create a goal and a game plan. You have to be very strategic about what you do from this point forward, since we are halfway through the semester. I have 2 Chrome extensions that I want to briefly talk about. And both of these will enhance your Canvas experience. So feel free to test them out. I'm also going to be sending up a follow-up link so you have access to reach these later. But Task for Canvas is the first one. This is a Canvas extension that you download and it'll sit in your toolbar or your favorites wherever you ask. But it gives you the ability to look at Canvas in a different way so that you can see what tasks you have to complete, how much time or how much percentage of your tasks are complete. And you can also do it by subject, so by course. So this is something that you can download. It is free. You can see all your weekly assignments in one place. You can play with the colors. You can keep track. You can create your own custom tasks. So say, for instance, you have a final exam, but your teacher posted a study session. You can create a task for attending the study session. So it builds this in for you so that you can see all of this. And then you get to celebrate your milestones. This is the important part. So when you actually submit something, you'll actually can have the confetti, the congratulatory feeling through your Canvas account. So consider if this is something that you think it'll work for you. The next one is Better Canvas. Better Canvas is also another way to transform your Canvas experience. You can play with the colors. You can add a to-do list. So it's just another opportunity for you to be able to feel more engaged and connected with Canvas. Please, you can do customizable things too. Please don't be discouraged by Canvas and try to make it as comfortable as you need it to be that conducive workplace, because you will spend a lot of time there. You are spending a lot of time there. Your professors actually know how much time. If you did not know, I mean, Google what professors can see on Canvas. Your professors can see how active you're in Canvas, if you access a page, a website, how long you spend within your Canvas account. So get familiar with what Canvas does for you and how you can use it to the best of your abilities. Next thing, apply class optimization techniques. What is this? Well, we're going to look at our class that we feel is going to be the easiest for us to pass, maybe the one we're most interested in, or has no exams, or has maybe less exams. Look at that class and make it your goal, even if it's a class that you're not interested in, make it your goal to make as highest grade as possible and maximize your points in that class. This is the strategic art of bouncing back. If you know that you're struggling in A and P, but you have a history class that's fairly easy to you because you're in love with history, then use that history to help offset your A and P class or that grade you might make, and to help you improve your overall semester GPA. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick the hardest class and you're going to pick the easiest class, and we're going to give it the same amount of effort. If you make one small change to a habit, it's going to impact the way you feel and those results slowly over time. Stay persistent and celebrate your successes. So if you just submitted an assignment on time, that is something to celebrate. If you started an assignment early, that is something to celebrate. You have to give yourself the space to be able to celebrate that. Okay? So how do we address burnout? If you are going through burnout and you feel that you're almost there, there's a 3R approach to addressing burnout. And what that consists of is recognizing, reversing, and then resilience again. With recognizing, you would know, understand, and be able to identify the warning signs of burnout. Remember, we talked about this. How does your body respond? The emotional part. Are you not getting enough sleep? It's important to understand this because if you're going through headaches, fatigue, emotional challenges, just anything of that, you're going to have cognitive difficulties when it comes to concentration, when it comes to memory, and we'll talk about that later. So remember that burnout reduces productivity and drains your energy. So recognize what's happening. Step 2, reverse. Apply stress management techniques and seek support. So these are those coping skills, reaching out for help, everything that we talked about, the flexibility, all of this is included within here. I'm going to show you two areas that can support you if you're not utilizing these now. Consider using them. We have a tutoring center. Within our tutoring center, we have different areas. I'm going to drop this in the chat right now. That's the link to our tutoring center. We have the Math and Technology Center. We have our Science Learning Resource Center, and we have the Right Site. So if you're struggling in these areas, feel free to reach out to get the assistance and the support that you need and to advocate for what your needs are. Next, we have our TWU Health Services. TWU Health Services, there are different options. Yay, Right Site, you work there. I love it. Yes, I'm gonna try to pump them up as much as possible. Thank you for sharing. Student resources. So we have a mental health page dedicated to the services that are available to students. I just dropped that one in the chat as well. We have TWU counseling services. So we have our CAPS, our counseling and psychological services. You have free fees for services that are, these are already included in your student service fees, so they're actually free. You have Meta. So Meta is only available to our students on the Denton campus, and this is teletherapy. You have 6 free counseling sessions. You can download the app on your phone and speak to a therapist virtually. We have counseling and family therapy clinic. They do have fees here, and this is right here. You can see this. For our Dallas and Houston campuses, you also have teletherapy and a little bit more. There's a lot in here. There's nutrition coaching, there's urgent medical care. It's all virtual, and it's also included for students. So Dallas and Houston campuses is another free site service that you get, teletherapy. And then we have our Oasis Health app. We have our crisis number. If you ever feel like you're at the point to where you need immediate, do not hesitate to reach out to our crisis services. We have Together All. This is fairly new to me, but it's been around a couple semesters now. But what Together All is I'm going to click a short video real quick.
Jorge has always put the ones he loves first. But when it comes to caring for his teeth, he's let
a safe place to talk, share, and support others like you, moderated by professionals 24/7. Everybody is safe. We don't use real names, and we take your anonymity seriously. Once in, you can use a range of tools and services. Connect with others who are experiencing similar thoughts and feelings. Express yourself creatively by posting a brick. Keep track of thoughts and feelings in your very own journal. Identify and work towards your goals. Understand what you're experiencing and track your progress. Take part in an online course where you can chat with others and share tips on what's working. And when you need a bit more support, our clinically managed and registered wall guides are just a click away. So join today to get support, take control, and feel better.
So Together All is a free service as a TW student that you also have access to. And so those are a couple of services that you can look into if you're needing some additional support. The third step is resilience. Resilience is taking care of your physical and emotional health. So just remember that by recognizing the signs of burnout, taking action to reverse it, and building resilience for the future, you can manage your stress and then thrive throughout your academic and personal life. We are going to do a sleep wellness check-in. This is the fun part. So I'm going to launch a poll, and I want you to just take a few minutes to answer these questions. They should be appearing on your screen now. Don't think too much about it. Just we want to kind of see where everybody's at right now. And then I'll start seeing, once you hit submit, there's only 5 questions. I'll see how complete we are, and we'll move on. Okay, if you wrap it up in a little bit. That'll give you about 10 more seconds. Okay. So the first question, how many hours do you sleep per night? It was about 47% tied for less than 6 hours and 6 to 8 hours. Do you stick to a regular sleep schedule? The highest was 63% for sometimes, and then 21% for yes, and then no for rarely. Do you hit the snooze button on your alarm? 47% said sometimes, once or twice, with 37% saying yes, more than twice, and then 16% rarely or never. I wake up immediately. That's a me. I didn't answer the questions, but that would be me. I automatically wake up. Rate your quality of sleep from 1 to 5. So majority are at fair and good, with some of us at 4. Nobody has excellent sleep. Me neither. Has poor sleep ever affected your schoolwork or daily life? So 50% say yes frequently, and occasionally to 39%. So I have a question. Is sleep debit a real thing? Is there such thing as making up sleep? I have an excellent video that's going to cover all of this. So let's look at that real quick.
Ah, sleep. A chance to let our minds drift and our bodies relax. But even though you're unconscious, there's a ton going on in your brain. It cycles you through the 5 stages of sleep, processes your memories of the day, and so much more. This is Your Brain On, where we explore how the world affects our brains and ourselves. While you snooze, your brain's activity falls into one of 2 categories: 4 stages of non-REM sleep, and then a rapid eye movement phase. The first stage begins just as you drift off to sleep. Your brain begins to produce alpha and theta waves associated with peacefulness. These slow brain waves lull you into relaxation and reduce your eye movements for a very light sleep stage that lasts about 7 minutes. Next, in stage 2, the frequency of those brain waves increases rapidly and are known as sleep spindles. If you're looking to take a quick nap, this is the stage where you want to wake up after only about 10 to 20 minutes, as you're still in a light stage of sleep and won't feel groggy. Because after that point, your brain begins producing delta waves, super slow, high amplitude waves that have powerful effects. This is stage 3 and 4, the period of deep sleep, the most restorative, beneficial part of the cycle. Slow wave sleep seems to be especially key for cognitive memory processing, remembering basic items like places and faces. The last phase is rapid eye movement sleep, which completes the sleep cycle about every 90 minutes. This is a period when you dream. Your brain does a lot in REM sleep, especially for advanced learning and memory, recalling procedural information rather than just basic facts, as well as creativity and emotion. REM sleep consolidates information from the day and stores important items in long-term memory, while ditching the stuff that doesn't matter. This is why a bad night of sleep takes its toll. Without the restorative power of solid rest, you're likely to suffer cognition and attention problems, as well as bad moods. Chronic insomnia is even worse, linked to concerns like a higher risk of mood disorders. Adults need an average of 7 to 9 hours of sleep nightly, but many of us aren't getting it. So make sleep a priority. And as your head hits the pillow, rest easy, knowing that sleeping is one of the best things you can do for a healthy brain.
So the question was, is there such a thing as making up sleep? I don't think so. I think you're running on empty. So when you're taking naps and you're just exhausted, it might be that your body is just telling you. So those are the recognize phase, right? Recognize what's going on. I didn't get enough sleep, so I'm not focused, so I'm not processing, so I'm not retaining. I need to sleep better. Is sleep debt a real thing? I think sleep deficiency is a real thing. So just understanding 6 to 9 hours is what you need. So if you can get at least 6 to 9 hours, you're in a great spot. There are days that you can't, so making sure that you're planning ahead. If you know that you've got to work a clinical that's 12 hours and you've got to wake up at 7 o'clock the next morning, well, then we need to make sure that we're planning to sleep afterwards, or that we are sleeping well before that time. When you do press snooze on the snooze button, one of the things that when we went through this video, one of the things that it said was I'm gonna drop this video in the chat as well. One of the things it said is that when you hit snooze, your body thinks it's going back into one of those sleep cycles. So then if you wake up groggy, if you wake up with headaches, it's the snooze button. So try 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As soon as your alarm goes off, tell yourself 5, 4, 3, get up before you hit 1. Just like that spaceship and take off. Because if you hit snooze, then you're tricking your brain to think that you're going back into one of these sleep cycles. That's why it is so hard to get through that process of getting away from the snooze and still feeling tired. Okay, so I'm not a sleep expert, but I've done just enough research to kind of help me get through the presentation. So
Sleep.
So let's apply the 3R approach to understanding how your brain works when you sleep. Recognize what you're doing, and then reverse it, and then provide resilience afterwards to get through it, to continue to maintain a healthy sleep hygiene.
Sleep.
Strategies for academic resilience. Well, let's go further than just bouncing back. Now, what are some strategies that I can do to get me to a place where I feel like I am at a competitive level within my academics? So ask yourself, this was some of there, you're going to visit family, perfect. If you've ever been around small children or ever you have a child yourself, they start to cry, the first thing is you think of, well, they must be hungry, they must be sleepy, they must be cranky, something's bothering them. We have to take that same approach with ourselves. So part of reclaiming your academic success is to acknowledge, what do you need? Are you hungry? Are you sleepy? Are you tired? Are you cold? What is that? And then how do we address that so that we can move forward? Being lonely does not mean that you just don't have a partner, a significant other, a best friend. It just means you need to step out of your environment and socialize, be in a social setting, or just do something that you enjoy doing. So that's also what's important. And so one of the ways you can do this is just practice time management and practice it over time. So our first video, if you go back to our YouTube page, and I'll show you how to get there later, is on time management. Well, how do we get there? Let's just say, for instance, you've got a project that's due at the end of the semester. It involves writing, and you just do not like to write. Chunk it. Figure out what steps you need to do, and if you come up with 5 to 6 steps, give yourself deadlines so that you can say, I'm going to do this time. By this time, I'm going to do step 1. By this time, I'm going to do step 2. That is chunking. So now we don't have this big project to do. We now have smaller projects to do. Use time management tools. You can use timers, your alarm clocks, set reminders for yourself if you're using your Google Calendar or even the extensions we talked about with Canvas. Relaxation technique. What does this look like to you? Does this look like, you practicing just understanding those coping strategies when you're feeling anxious? Well, let me concentrate on my breathing. Let me practice some journaling. Let me practice something that is going to help me find my inner peace and my strength. And it could be personal, it could be spiritual, it could be giving back to a organization or a community. It's just doing something that brings you, that helps you to embrace what you're all about. Seek support, maybe join a student organization, go to a campus event, something within your community. Prioritize your sleep. This is why it's important to keep sleep schedule and to make sure that your sleep environment is conducive to a healthy sleep environment. Limit your screen time before bed, and then avoid or limit caffeine. If you know that if you drink caffeine at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you have difficulty sleeping, then maybe say, my cutoff time for caffeine is 12 o'clock. That's the last time I can have caffeine for the day because I need to sleep, because I need to wake up early the next day. So figure out what's going to work best for you. Reclaiming your academic success. Create a study guide. If you know that you have to study for your A&P exam, or if you know that you have to study for a history exam, if you're not given blueprints, a study guide, an outline, like that should not stop you from progressing in your academics. Create a study guide, because study guides help you to organize information and assist you with checking for understanding. So if you have 15 things on this study guide and, you know, you've mastered 1 through 5, then you know you need to spend your attention and focus on 6 through 15. So this will help you plan. This is part of chunking as well. Summarize. Create summaries in your own words. So when we're creating summaries, you can do this when you're in class. You can do this when you're reviewing your notes, when you're reading textbooks, when you're watching videos. Force yourself to write things down and write this information down so that you're able to retain the information. Use your own words. Create test questions. By creating test questions, you help yourself to identify areas where you may need more practice. You might have already had the opportunity to take your first exams in some of your classes. And if you have, recognize where are the questions you struggle with. Do you struggle with true false? Do you struggle with select all that applies? Fill in the blank. If you know that some of these are more challenging than others for you, part of your study process should involve you creating fill in the blank questions, true and false questions. So then you get used to this as a method of studying. So when it comes time to take the exam, you're more prepared and more comfortable answering these types of questions. Seek support. Join study groups, attend tutoring sessions, and talk to your professor. Reach out for support if you don't know something. Your professor's one of the best places to start. Reaching out to your grad assistants, reaching out to your peer tutors, your peer mentors, whatever that looks like. Seek support instead of feeling like, I don't know how to do this, the instructions are unclear, well, what if? Like, just reach out for the help. Okay. Any questions on any of these things here? We're going to get into a couple more strategies. Any immediate questions? We're going to now be talking about active recall. Go ahead, Jessica.
I do have a question about sleep. Is there like because you were talking about sleep hygiene.
Mhm.
Is there anything that works to implement like I don't know, like are there things that you can do to increase your sleep, like the excellence of it, like having a snack before bed or
So I can just speak personally, not like scientifically, but I know for me personally, and I built this into the time management thing, is having a wind down period.
okay,
So
cool.
And especially for those people who have children. So my children are 10 years old and they go to bed at 8:30 because then I need my wind down time. They go to bed at 8:30 and everything's out in the house. I might have the TV on in my room, but at 8:30, that's my time to do my nighttime routine, close down, pack lunch for the next day so I'm not worried. Do those kinds of things for as students. Look at your calendar for the next day to say, okay, well, these are things I'm planned, I'm ready to go. I packed my lunch, I packed my backpack, I got my clothes ready, my uniform ironed. It's time to go to bed. Avoid your cell phones because of the blue light. There is information out there that the blue lights, do that. If you watch TV and that helps put you to bed, you can do that. You can use fragrances, so essential oils to help with that. There's a lot of things that you can Google and see what works best for what you have to help you get through that. Making sure that you're comfortable before you go to bed, making sure that you've already eaten so that you're not up. But if you need a bowl of cereal as a reward so that you can go to bed, do it. You deserved it. You were up all day, right? So figure out what works best for you so that then you can go to bed. Somebody said drinking tart juice 30 minutes before bed. I had another student that said cherry juice helped them go to bed. I don't know. So look into things, look into herbal things, so you don't have to go out and spend a lot of money. If you have access to a primary care physician, or hey guys, you can log into these apps for those on the Dallas and Houston. And that's a question you can ask somebody in there because they have access to the information. Somebody takes magnesium. Yep, magnesium. Getting plenty of time in the sun also helps. Oh God, thank y'all for helping me answer these. Yes. Getting plenty of time in the sun helps to promote natural melatonin production too. So sneaking out in the day. That's a good one. That's a new one for me. Thanks, Gretchen. Thank you. So the next thing we're going to talk about is active recall. So this is a process of retrieving information from memory. So I'm going to click on this quick video.
Picture this, you've spent hours studying for an exam, but when it comes time to take the test, you find yourself struggling to remember what you've learned. You start to panic, wondering where it all went wrong. Well, it's probably too late for you on that test, but on the next one, you can use the concept of active recall. Active recall is the process of actively retrieving information from memory rather than simply rereading and reviewing it passively. And there's tons of research that shows that active recall is the single most effective study technique, as it helps to strengthen connections between neurons and enhance long-term memory retention. You can incorporate this into your life in different ways, like flashcards and quizzes and practice tests. By testing yourself on what you've learned, you can identify areas where you need to focus more attention and reinforce your understanding of that material. So next time, don't think you're going to learn anything by reading things passively. Instead, try to actively recall the stuff that you've learned. Picture this, you've spent hours studying.
So that's active recall. It's a process where you are able to, say for instance, if you have a flashcard, this is where you're able to look at the front of the flashcard and remember what's on the back without flipping it over. So this might involve a dry erase board, a marker on the dry erase board. It might a scratch sheet of paper. Like you can retain what's on the back in your own words without flipping it over. So it's just a practice of reviewing the material to where when you get to the exam, you won't have to rely on flipping a flashcard because you won't have access to that. Spaced repetition is a process of reviewing material at increasing intervals over time. If you are practicing, if you're reviewing for a midterm or for an exam and you do have a study guide and we're looking at those items that are on there, maybe there is something that's a little bit more challenging. Well, that's information you are going to review maybe 5 days of the week versus one. So if there's something that you've mastered, maybe you'll look at that one day. So maybe day one, you're going to look at, 5 items, but day 2, you're going to look at 1 because you need more practice, or 3. So it's just spacing things out to where you have the time to review these things, but you're also reviewing it in intervals over time. Stuff that you say, for instance, your midterm is going to have chapters 1 through 15, and you're on 15 now, well, you're going to have to go back and study chapter 1 because it's been now a couple of weeks since you reviewed chapter 1. So you might need to spend a little bit more time on chapter 1 and a little bit more time on areas that you didn't grasp initially. That's spaced repetition. Using mnemonics. The example that just does not leave my brain for mnemonics, and this is the best way I can explain it, is please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That means that's a mathematical equation, but it means parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. So that's the way to solve a formula. But by remembering, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, I don't have to remember parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction in that order. I've now remembered a mnemonic. So this is the part where I tell you, work smarter, not harder. If you are struggling to retain information, especially if it is in order, search that word up and search. So go to Google and search the word and mnemonic. Something is going to come up. Somebody has already created it. And you can look at things that are associated with it, create images. We talk about that in our other video, in our note-taking video. So you can go back and get more, some more detailed information on mnemonics. Use create visual aids. We also talked about this. Creating mind maps. This will help you to put your thoughts into a visual perspective. So you can do this by creating mind maps, by creating diagrams, by creating charts, and creating this information in your own words. Okay. Any questions on active recall, spaced repetition, mnemonics, or visual aids? Has anybody used any of these? So let's go on to critical thinking. So spaced repetition, awesome. So what is critical thinking? Critical thinking is higher order thinking. In college, you think differently than you did in high school or for leisure maybe, but so let's just say, for instance, you're asked a question like, what is the capital of Texas? So we know that answer automatically because it's something we've been taught to respond automatically. Critical thinking is actually taking that thought process to another level. And it's a more detailed response than just Texas. So let's look at that. We're going to look at that by taking a look at Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy is an upside down triangle. This is a higher order thinking process. We're going to start from the bottom and we're going to work our way up to explain critical thinking. So the bottom is the who, what, when, why, and where. These are the basic concepts, the facts. You can create a list. You can name things and identify things. And that's about all in this level, right? The who, what, when, why, and where. We get the gist. Then we move to understanding. Within understanding, we can explain things and we can give basic ideas of general concepts. So when you get to an exam and they ask you a question, and it might be a select all that apply or rank these or fill in the blank, this is where there's gaps in what we've learned and what we're able to recall on an exam. If you find this happening, it is because you are stuck at the bottom part of this triangle. You are stuck within remembering and understanding. So when I said to create a study schedule, this is why it is important, because if you create that outline for studying, you can go back and assess where you're at. Am I at remembering? Am I at understanding? Because in college, you were tested at the applying, creating, evaluating, and analyzing phase. So let's continue to look at this. So with applying, this is where you can use information in new situations. So I understand what I've read. I got this list together. I know the basic concepts. Now let me apply it to something. Can I do that? Yes. But I'm just not quite there. There's still some gaps in my knowledge. There's still some things I can't fully recall. If I change a situation, if I change a number, if I change a parameter, something changes and I don't know how to respond, right? That's the next level we need to get to. This is when you have mastered critical thinking and you are at the top of Bloom's taxonomy. This is where you can produce new work. This is where you can justify a decision. This is the debating. This is the true and false when you've mastered this, and you can draw connections. Well, because this, then I know this, and this is why. I can support that. You have mastered the creating, the evaluating, and the analyzing phase. So this is where you're tested when it comes to testing. So if you ever feel like I don't have enough knowledge, but I know it, we need to figure out where we're at. And that does not mean to take a theory, to take a question, and to say, let me see where I'm at on this triangle. It actually means you need to spend more time. And that would be creating a process of active recall, spaced repetition, mind maps. I'm going to fill in the mind map, but I'm going to do it on my own without looking at what the textbook says or what I originally created. I'm just going to practice this on my own. I'm going to do a brain dump of everything I know about this material. Now I'm going to put it in order. Now I'm going to use it in an example. Now I'm going to teach it to somebody else. This is Bloom's taxonomy, and you get there by stacking some of these things that we've talked about today and in our other videos, right? We get there within time, but it is a process that you have to be resilient in. If you have chapter objectives in the front of your textbook, you should be able to answer those by the end of your chapter. If it says by the end of this chapter, the student will be able to identify, so the student learning outcomes, right? This, and this. Can you do that? Can you answer the questions at the back of the chapter? Can you increase your proficiency, your mastery in your online exams? Are you able to keep track of that so that you can see, well, I'm going to do this chapter and I'm going to do this practice test first. I got a 70. All right. I need to read. I need to practice. I need to practice these things that I've just learned. Now let me take the test again. Well, I'm at an 80. Well, I'm doing better. I'm doing something right. So this is where you're able to adapt and make changes to implement these to be able to see your academic success. Okay? So reclaiming your academic success involves a couple more things. It does involve prioritizing your study material. This is where we talked about taking that strategic approach to what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and when. Using a timer, because it can help with accountability. Backwards planning. If you have a project that's due at the end of the month and you've got 30 days to do it, break up what you need to do and set a timeline for yourself to get it complete and set strict deadlines. Change your study location. If you're studying in your room, on your bed, and this is not working for you because you're not retaining information and you fall asleep, we need to change that. This is where we're resilient. This is the 3 R's, right? Figure out what we're doing, then we're going to change it, and then we'll reach out for help, see what we need to do, and then we're going to be resilient. We're going to avoid cramming. Planning ahead of time is the best way to do that. And then we're going to avoid procrastination by looking at law. So Parkinson's law states that a task will swell with importance the more time you give yourself to do it. So if you know that you have a Canvas assignment that is due Sunday at midnight, you will be up Sunday at 10:59 and 11:59 to turn in that assignment. Stop. Today, please make today the day that you stop this. Because then you can't sleep, then you can't wake up, and then, right? It keeps going. So if you have an assignment that's due Sunday at midnight, I want you to change that deadline to maybe one day of the week, or move it up at least a day and during the day. So maybe you say it's Saturday at noon. It's due Saturday at noon, and I'm going to turn it in Saturday at noon, because then you are going to keep tricking yourself to think that you have up until 11:59, your computer crashes, you have your clock wrong, and it just feels like chaos at that point. So let's avoid that. So let's set strict deadlines for ourselves so that we can move ahead in a productive manner. So you put all your due dates in your calendar 1 week ahead. Yes. So I love to tell people to plan at least 2 weeks ahead, because you never know what's going to happen. The effort is there. So that is really good. So maybe trying that Canvas, reading the chat. So maybe trying that Canvas. So when you turn it in, you get that satisfaction of it being complete, and then you have less things to do. So I would try that. I think that would work great. So remember, be kind to yourself, celebrate the small wins, focus on progress, not perfection, okay? Utilize your resources, and please, please, please take care of yourself. I do have a survey that I would like to ask that you please give me your feedback. You can scan this. Justine's going to drop it in our chat in just a few minutes. But if you can please take the survey, let me know what today's presentation was like for you. Then we are going to, I am going to be hosting a in-person workshop for Denton campus, and this is going to be March 21st. It's going to be at 12:30, and it's going to be on the Denton campus in CFO 202. This workshop is going to be an in-person workshop titled Embrace Your Brilliance, Thriving as a Diverse Learner. So do you ever find yourself needing help to stay focused, remember things, to stay organized? Don't worry, you're not alone. Join us at the Embrace Your Brilliance, Thriving as a Diverse Learner workshop, where you will discover strategies and practical skills to boost your strengths. So I do hope that if you're able to make this, you can join me there. At this time, this will not be a recorded session, so it will be an in-person session only. We are now going to open the floor for questions. If anybody has questions over anything we've talked about, if you have something you'd like to share with your peers, please use the mic. Please take this opportunity to ask these questions. If they have to do with today's session, if they have to do with time management, with procrastination, with note-taking, anything, just please let's get some conversations going, because you're not alone. Other people have these questions too, okay? Any questions? I am going to turn the mic off really quickly. I'm sorry, I'm going to turn off the recording. Oh, let me get through there. All right. So this is the last slide, but let me turn off this real quick.